Word on the street, at least, so we'll find out. 1 second, got an echo. Here we go. So, big money domains today on Domain to Profit. That is the word on the street, at least. We'll find out, right? So, and we're going to look at one of the domain names we looked at last week. So we analyzed it as a domain that may be great for development, sold for $88,000. And we'll share more about that domain name and why I think that was not a good purchase. But, first we got to get settled in. This is Domain to Profit. I'm Drew Wash, where we look through domain names, something I would be spending at least an hour doing on my own, but instead we get together as a community live. I saw Fred was already looking through domain names, announcing that we have some big ones this week. I can't wait to find out. I've not been looking yet. So I'm looking forward to seeing what is out there. Hopefully we find some great opportunities for you to take advantage of, for you to participate in the auction, buy, set up your future, set up your life, and use domain names to build something special for yourself, just as I have used domain names to build something special for me, my family, my friends, my company. So, okay, well, if you're watching this on Restream, well, what are you doing? I know it's hard to have an appointment on your calendar to be here at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but watching Domain to Profit live is the best way to do it. You get to hang out with all of us in the chat, which if you're here watching live with us, make sure you say hi in the chat so that way everybody knows you're here. We can all welcome you and we can all chat domains. Make sure you say hi, make sure you like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the other side. It's Domain to Profit. I'm Drew Wash.
From domain to profit, from a .com to a business idea. Take a domain name, develop an income from domain to profit. We'll show you how. Domain to profit, from domain to profit. Join Drew Wash and get started right now.
Okay, I saw some early chatter, some new. I want to say new faces, new peeps. Maybe let's check in with the chat here. I saw B. Atkins popping in early saying hello, everyone, and hello. Welcome to Domain to Profit. Daniel Croft, howdy. How's it going? Welcome as well. And Fred, here's the one that I was mentioning prior to the show. This year, we're like big money domains. Each week, we look through hundreds of thousands of domain names, filter them down to the best possible ones. And I'll tell you, Fred is here each week. So he knows some stuff. So if he says there's big money ones, I believe him. And Lee, how's it going from across the pond? Nice to have you here. And then just Chaz, he's practically just Coaster G is listening while driving home from Michigan. I appreciate your service, sir. And let me know how it does as a podcast. I always assume we need to be able to see it, but maybe it'll work as a podcast or whatnot. So, and Matt, nice. Thank you for being here as well. So, Domain to Profit, where we look through domain names, and here's where a lot of times we spend. And Daniel, exactly. I thought you were new, but I didn't want to call you out. But thanks for that. Hopefully we get you some good content. Hopefully we get good content for everybody. I think domain names can be addicting because there's so much opportunity out there, which we're going to look at once I figure out what screen I'm supposed to be on. It's not like I've done this for 93 weeks of domains. That's madness. Okay, well, if I'm not mistaken, we are now looking at, yes, there's me, there's domains. So what you're seeing here is Domain to Profit. We are over on expiredomains.net. You'll see that up in the URL. And expiredomains.net is where we go to find our domain names. I am going to take a second to get set up a little bit better here. Okay, there we go. So expiredomains.net is the site that we use, and we filter down. You'll see up here, well, I'm all discombobulated. Okay, here we go. 460,000 domain names are currently going to be expiring next week over on GoDaddy Auctions, which is where we primarily look. There's even more than that expiring, but what we're going to do is we're going to filter those down. I am going to put this up on the bottom of the screen. So you'll see down there at the bottom, that is where you can go to find the filters that we use. And essentially what I'm doing is filtering this 460,000 domains down to just over 85,000 domains. The filters down here will tell you how to set those up. If you watch with us each week, you'll see how to do that as well. We've done it, and we just kind of put it into a video, so that way if you're new, you can follow along, and you'll see exactly what we show here on our domain. You can watch it, of course, as well. So what it does is, one of the primary things it does is pull in domain. It pulls in just .com. So we got rid of a lot of good ones. I saw lucky.io, which would be a great .io domain for investment purposes, but for development, which is what we spend our time here doing, development. What are the best domain names to develop, to turn into a business, to turn into an enterprise, turn into something that can generate monthly revenue for you, to where that domain name, even if you're just like, I just want to make some extra money or whatever, turn it into some income. So we're going to spend some time looking through domain names. And one of the things I also want to talk about, which is the title of the show, which is the $88,000 domain name, which, if you recall, anybody remember what that is, or anybody know what it is? In fact, let me sneak over to Twitter. It's this one right here. Can you see that? Elad mentioned it, which is localmotors.com. We talked about it a little bit last week, and localmotors.com sold for $88,000. And if you remember last week when we were discussing it, I tried to figure something out for it, but realistically, it was a dud. It was a dud. The numbers were not looking good. So the consensus is it's a valuable SEO profile. So you see this up here. Look at that. Domain ranking. Oh, yay. It could do well on Google. We'll talk more about that later on. We'll dive just a little into search engine optimization domains. I try not to talk about them much, which when we talk about them, you'll find out why. I'm a little on the bitter side when it comes to that. I want domain names for you. I want domain names for me that are domains that are perfect for development, not just domains that are like potentially good on GoDaddy or Google. So did I say GoDaddy? Anyhow. Well, right here, we're looking at these domain names. One of the first ones I see here, if you look here, this is actual virtual one. This is one of those mixed casing issues where, expiredomains.net it's a free tool. There's no cost. You can set up an account, get it access just like I have here. I don't pay for this. It's a free tool, free for you, free for me. But one of the things it does is it tries to grab the words and proper case them, saddle case them, I believe it's called, to make them look like the words that they're looking at. And it believes that this is virtue alone, but it's virtual one is what that would be. But doesn't really matter. It's not really one that we would talk about necessarily on the show, because what the heck is a virtual one? Virtual one? Anybody? I guess I'm kind of virtual one right now. Just one guy in a room, bunch of lights pointed at me, camera, hanging out with a bunch of peeps virtually over the web. Anyhow. Okay. Moving on. So what we do is we go down through this list and we look for domain names, call them out in the chat if you see one that you want to chat about. But we look for domain names that we can type into SpyFu and other tools to really grab an idea of domains that could be turned into something that can make money. So mememaster.com, what a fun domain. I believe Chaz, who is listening right now, he is my meme guy. He's my meme master. He brings me all the funny memes that I got. But what would you do with it other than pump up your ego? Meme master. Weapons man. So as you read through these, you'll probably see domain names. And actually, I got to do something. I'm like, why are there okay. So over in valuation, this is one of the things I walk you through with the filters video, is you got to order it by valuation. So what this will do is it essentially uses GoDaddy's valuation to bring the best domains to the top. Does it always work? Is the valuation an actual amount? No, it's not, but it does help us bring up some good domains to the top of this list instead of just the random ones based on the expiration date or the time that the auction ends. So that meant that ancients.com is what came up to the top, which I would say Ancients, I could see that being a pretty darn good domain name for sure. I like it. So let's see here, ancients.com, but what would you build it into? Education, it's the best I can come up with. Smart Station, Jack London. So as we're reading down through these, I believe I started to say this, some of these domain names you'll read and you'll be like, oh, that's a great domain name. And I feel that as well. I read a lot of them and I'm like, oh, I love that domain name. The question, the second piece that you have to ask as you're looking for a domain name is, what would you do on it? Does the domain name paint a picture of the business that should be on that domain name? And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for domain names that paint a picture of what's supposed to be on that domain name. So when you see like foodpickup.com, kind of interesting, food pickup, you can see it. It's probably a website that allows you to order food for pickup. It's a weird thing. It's kind of opposite of the trend, which is delivery. I'm going to skip over it, but if you hear that domain name, foodpickup.com, it paints a picture, right? You could see a website there that helps you maybe, well, set up somehow food for pickup. So we kind of keep those to those exact matched keywords. We stay very literal. Is it boring? Maybe. Maybe it's boring to be literal, but you know what? Money is made through being literal. You don't have to be figurative. You don't have to be, all fancy, smancy, kind of coming up with your own words. It drives me nuts. I get a little tired of hearing all the companies that create their own brand names just so they can trademark them and stuff. The world doesn't need it. What the world needs is the domain name to have something on it. It needs to be developed. Foodpickup.com or whatever that one was. What's better than what's currently on it would be a website that actually helps, I don't know, maybe a checklist. If you're organizing the food pickup for your company, use this checklist and you'll be able to do it more easily. Something like that. Fred, I'm doubting you, man. I'm not seeing the super awesome domains yet. I'm sure they'll come up. Well, I'm going to give it a couple more page downs. Cooking Plus. Career Resources. That sounds boring. It sounds like kind of official, but let's go check into it. At least get this party started. 14 minutes into the show, and we haven't dove into a domain name yet, so I think it's about time to get going. Careerresources.com. So here's kind of how we do this. My green screen is grayed out. Okay, well, either way. Careerresources.com. My gut says there's not much money behind this keyword. There's probably some search volume. We don't go off of Drew's gut. We go off of data. My gut can steer me wrong. So, wow, that's old school. Okay, Career Resources. So what we do, we drop the .com, we bring up and break the keywords apart. So now it's Career Resources. Type it into our tool here, spyfoo.com, spyfoo.com. And 480 searches, so there are people searching for it. Let's find out about the money. The money is what matters, right? We got to see if people actually care about this keyword. 64 cents per click, 2 advertisers. So there are people paying to reach this keyword, but not really setting any records on. I like to see advertisers. You can probably say it with me by this point. Advertisers, we like to see them double digits or really close. The more advertisers, the more competitive the money is. And we also like to see cost per click to be $2 or more. That just means there's a lot of blood in the water. There's a lot of competition for this keyword. We're not seeing that. So really, for the most part, you're going to have your work cut out for you if you buy careerresources.com for the purpose of development. With that said, it's probably worth a few $100s. Contractor supplies, that sounds like a real thing. Oh, and by the way, careerresources.com ends in 3 days over on GoDaddy, $12 currently. And because it is a $12 domain name, you don't want to bid yet. Don't bid on that. You want to wait until 5 minutes left in the domain name auction. Try to keep it as low as possible. The tactic that does seem to work. Contractor supplies, $32 currently, also ends in 3 days. My gut says this one's kind of garbage, but I don't want to go with my gut. It sounds like it's two words that should go together or do kind of go together. Yeah. Okay. So you'll find out a lot of times as we're looking down through this list, there'll be two words that seem like they go together, but it's loose. They're not perfect. And that's why contractor supply near me, that's a pretty good word. Can we reach and target those keywords with contractor supplies? I don't think so. That'd be a reach. So 90 searches for this one advertiser, cost per click, $1 something. Certainly worth a couple $100. Anytime there's searches for it, if it's an industry that you are interested in, it's probably worth targeting, but you're going to waste a lot of money if you buy domain names just because you think it's worth something. There's a lot of domain names that are worth something, but yeah. Okay. Just looking over at, I appreciate that, Fred. I'm a positive thinking guy too. Like, yeah, I think there's going to be some great domains, and there will be. We'll find some. Let's go talk about, so I don't bait and switch everybody. Let's go talk about localmotors.com, the $88,000 domain name that we saw over, I mentioned it over on Twitter. Here we go. Share out my screen again. The tweet, it's like, what's up with this $88,000 Local Motors? So I pulled it up on namebio.com. Namebio.com they have a free tool. You can pay, highly recommend it. They track the past auctions. So you can see here, just last week, localmotors.com sold for $88,000. And as a guy who has bought lots of expensive domain names, many of them $80,000 or more, I will tell you, first of all, this was not me. I did not buy Local Motors for $88,000. Hopefully none of you have either. But here's the thing. And here's kind of what I was thinking with this one. Why did somebody buy localmotors.com for $88,000? According to Twitter, which I agree, when you type this into, here's the SEMrush profile. So this is SEMrush.com. It's a tool that you can use for SEO, search engine optimization, analyzing data, and so on. And if you look, the domain name has some juice, some SEO juice. It currently is generating traffic around, what's this, $3,000 a month. In theory, the value of the traffic. How do they come up with that number? Well, they take all these different keywords that you're going to see over here. All those keywords there, those are the keywords that this domain name ranks for currently on Google. Local Motors, Local Motor, Knoxville, Tennessee, and so on. And if we go back out to the overview for this domain name, one of the things that a lot of people look at, let me try to pull up the overview, is this authority score that's going to pop up over here. The authority score is 55. So what is that telling us? That is saying that SEMrush has analyzed this domain name from a search engine perspective and has found that it has a really high authority score. So people like me, I actually got into domain names from the search engine optimization perspective. In fact, back when I started to buy domains at auction, I believe it was 2005, if I was to show you the domain names I was buying back then, they were all SEO domain names. They were all domain names that had high page ranks, good backlink structure. And I spent the first year or so buying domains at auction that were the wrong domain names. They were domain names that I was buying for the SEO piece of it, not for the actual domain name itself. And I look back to those auctions and I realized that I wasted thousands and thousands of dollars. Luckily, I did not waste $88,000, because why did somebody pay $88,000? To rank well in Google, right? Like, that's the theory. To rank well in Google, they thought that a Local Motors, it used to be owned by a company that 3D printed the car or something like that. I don't know. I don't really know much about the domain name other than the domain name is a C minus, a C. Like, it doesn't really make sense. We see lots of domain names that are better than localmotors.com all the time. So that means that this is a C minus domain name that has a pretty good search engine profile. What does that mean? Well, it means that somebody valued getting whatever that search engine juice is, those backlinks and things, at $88,000. Let's cut them some slack. Maybe the domain name's worth $2,000. So for $86,000, they paid a premium to have a better chance at showing up in Google. Happens all the time. I was doing it back in 2005. Okay, here's the thing. What do you think about that? I mean, do you buy domains from for SEO purposes? I come here to Domain to Profit, and much of why I do this show is because I believe domain names, especially great domain names, the domain names that we talk about here, these domain names are made to be developed. They should be developed. And they shouldn't be developed for the sake of ranking well in Google. They should be developed for the sake of bringing value to the people that are out there looking for the solution that should be on that domain name. And all too often right now, I just see more and more people that are putting so much effort, so much money, acting as if Google is the foundation of the internet. Like, is Google the foundation? Are they the rock solid bedrock of the internet? And I'm hoping if you're watching this show, if you're here on Domain to Profit, you can answer that as no. Google is not. Google is a source of traffic, period. But if we treat them like the bedrock of the internet, if you treat and pay $88,000 for nothing more than a leg up in the Google algorithm, you are essentially paying all that money, treating Google like they're the foundation of the internet, when I'll tell you what, they're not. You know what the foundation of the internet is? Exactly what we talk about on this show. Great domain names, great .com real estate of the internet being developed well to bring value to our visitors, to bring value to the people that type in a domain name and expect to find what we're building on those domain names. What the hell is Local Motors? Like, what do you even put on that? Like, local motor repair, maybe? Like, anyhow. I'm frustrated is what it comes down to. I'm frustrated by the fact that we're putting all this time into ranking well in Google. We're putting all this money into ranking in Google instead of just doing a better job of serving our visitors and stuff. So I'm just going to I'm going to move on though. So the $88,000, whoever you are that bought that domain name, you wasted it. I hope that you come around just like I did in 2005. I hope it works out for you, but I think that there's going to be we need to come up with a better way. The better way is to treat our own sites as the bedrock, treat our own sites as if they matter enough to the world to where Google is just thankful that your information is there and they want to show you. It's the kind of business model that we try to run on our domains. So let's go back to some domain names. End rant. Okay. Let me pull up. So I found domain names because of SEO domains. I probably spent thousands. Hell, I probably spent $88,000 on a bunch of domain names for SEO purposes. Overpriced domain name, and can't argue with the SEO value helps domain name. Yeah, I mean, I like, that's the thing is, I don't view it as necessarily a bad thing. I don't view it as like some kind of major. I get it. Somebody's just trying to make their money. They're trying to figure out their angle. They're so close, though. They're close. They're so close. The angle that they're looking for is not the domain name because it does well on Google. The answer is the domain name. Put that $88,000 into the top domain name for what they're trying to do. They're just so close. They just need to figure it out. I hope that they're watching. I hope they take that next step. Here's Lee, a little more information on localmotors.com. Company Local Motors that raised $15 million. Now, maybe that's the case. Maybe there's a bidding war for the domain name between companies, which hopefully that's the case. I hope I'm completely wrong when it comes to why the domain name was purchased for that much. But the idea that it was SEO, yeah, I'm kind of over that. Don't buy domains for SEO. And I have good friends that do it. I used to do it. And honestly, I think I don't know if there's a single one that I've ever purchased that I'm like, that was a good decision. That really helped my business. Put the value in the domain name, not Google. Okay, let's find some domain names. That's what we're all here for. Meme Master showing back up again. What's that one going for? I always show my, mememaster.com. So it's just one of the things that happens pretty frequently. The person that was letting it expire, mememaster.com, is gone. Right to privacy. Maybe. Is there a right? I mean, okay, top profit, face hunter. Google used to be our friend. It used to be my friend. I literally was one of the first people that were on there, both advertising and showing their ads on my websites and stuff. Made a lot of money. They'd send me Christmas cards and Christmas gifts and stuff. Back when their goal was to organize the world's information, to bring value to all of us. Crypto hubs, saw that one up there. Not really setting any records on it. Organize the world's information. That would be a good mission. That would be something that would super duper help all of us. Certainly not what they do anymore, though. Am I even live? I'm on YouTube right now. I'm live on YouTube. It's the primary channel for the show, which of course Google owns YouTube. They hear me badmouth and they're like, it's going to go to the taken off the air screen. Hopefully you can find me on Twitter if that's the case. Okay, I'm not finding any good domain names. So this is so let's say you have money in the bank and you're like, hey, I've been watching, I'm ready to buy some domain names, and you have the money in your account and you're like, this is the week I'm going to buy some domain names. Wait. You probably have to wait. Quickloads.com. Let's keep diving in. We'll find some good ones. Quickloads.com. What do you expect to find on it? I would expect to find on Quickloads probably something to do with transportation. Maybe you need, there's something in transportation called deadhead. It's when trucks run empty. So maybe they just want to pick up quick loads. 480 searches for it for quick load, 270 monthly volume available for quick loads as a plural. Okay, but it is a brand. How do we know it's a brand? 0 advertisers. Nobody's paying for it, so we're going to move on. But a pretty good brand, though, nonetheless. So down the road, though, pestcompany.com. I like this one. This one probably has some juice. This one probably has some juice, peeps. This one is probably the best one we've had so far. Well, on the day. Not that that takes much. We've not really found much. I feel like I'm like, Google, get off my lawn. Grumpy old Drew. Okay, well, not really happening much. Okay, so here's what we got to do. We're going to look at this one, pest control companies. That's where I'm essentially looking at this domain name for. The idea of pest control, pest company. You'll see pest control companies near me, 22,000. If we can get access to that industry, here we go, pest control company near me. So we're getting smaller numbers, but pestcompany.com. I'll scroll down. Oh, here we go. Now, this is why I knew this domain name had potential. Advertisers 9, so we're almost to the double digits where I like to be. Over $2 per click. Pestcompany.com. So let me pull up over on my other laptop. I want to show you something just real quick, if I can do this. I just want to break down this domain name a little bit in the perspective of this here. As you probably know, this up here is where we here with this domain name. I want to ask the question of, if you were to call companies, pest control companies, if you were to call them and say, hey, I'm Drew with pestcompany.com, and would you be interested in featuring your company on pestcompany.com? I'm not digging it. I don't like it. If you can get it for cheap, I think it's probably, it could be an entry-level development. But what we want to do with this domain names is, I like the directory model. You know, we want to target that localization. So here's what I mean by that. We want to target this pest control company near me. So pestcompany.com, we show all the local pest companies in your area. They pay to be a member on the site. I just think it lacks some of that authority. Like, if you were to call them up and be like, hey, would you be interested in featuring on pestcompany.com? It doesn't ring solid. Now, we do know there's competition, where down here we have 9 companies that are paying, $9 per click to target this industry, this keyword specifically. But I don't know. Like, is that enough? Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to move on from Pest Company. If you can get that domain name for a few $100, it could be a starter site, but some of the alternatives for this domain. Okay, Pest Company, we already saw pestcontrol.com would be a great domain, an alternative to pestcompany.com. Pest Control, Pest Controls, probably not. Pest Control singular would be the better way. Pests, it's hard to say, pests. It's really hard to say. Okay, so there's several alternative domain names that I would love to have. So that takes away from the value of this one specifically. But if you're in a lurch, you're like, hey, I got $1,000 I want to spend on a domain name. So far, that one's probably the best one we have so far is pestcompany.com. Let's keep looking. We're going to find some better ones. We're going to find, I believe in us. Like Fred was saying, we can do this. We can find some better domain names. I want to find some good ones. Bubbleless. a good food truck versus a bad food truck. Man, I am struggling today. I am back in my home base here. I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio today. 2 weeks traveling. It is nice to be in the home office. Fishing outdoors, cannabis study. So there's fun domain names, but if you go and buy every domain name that you think is fun or that sounds good, you'll end up with a portfolio of 10,000 domain names, and you'll hopefully sell through enough of them to be a domain investor. The only thing is my goodness gracious, that's a tough life. A tough life. You don't see too many bulk domain investors, guys that buy hundreds or thousands of domain names. I don't see too many of them that like love their life. I feel like they all seem a little stressed. Although I'll tell you what, running a business sure as heck isn't easy either. Blockchain block, worldwide income, pitch marketing. I mean, I like that. That's a good brand. Pitch marketing seems like something you'd have. Russian furniture. We saw Russian vodka a couple weeks ago. .com, that is. And Matt mentioning in chat that somebody is dumping their cinema domains. I don't blame them. I don't like the word cinema. Who says cinema? Oh, I'm going to spend the night at the cinema watching movies. Brew Festival. Beer Fest. Man. So far, we got pestcompany.com, quickloads.com. What is that other one up here? Contractor Supplies, Career Resources. Those are some of the, I feel like we got a bunch of C domains so far. We've not hit a home run. And you might think, okay, Drew, you're going down the list. These domain names are getting less and less valuable. Why do you keep going? Wouldn't the good ones be at the top? And the answer is no. Just because we're going down the list, we are going down the list. And yes, that means that GoDaddy values these domain names less. But you would actually be surprised by the amount of good domain names that you'll find at the bottom of the list. What it does mean, though, is you're going to have to go through and look through a bunch of bad domains first. There's going to be a lot more bad domain names. That's why I'm going pretty quick. I love startupsimulator.com. What's that one going for? I know Matt's my gamer in the chat. Matt, what do you think? You want to create a startup simulator? I think almost every businessperson.com, especially of a certain age. Oh, ginreview.com. I didn't see that one, Matt. I see that. Sorry, here's the chat. I'll bring that up. He's mentioning that there was ginreview.com, which I'm a gin drinker. When I drink gin typically. So yeah, that one, I might have to go back and look for that one. I didn't catch that one. But Startup Simulator, Matt's the game guy. I believe just last week he got, what was it, Matt? Game updates, upcoming games. He already owned GameReleases.com. Basically, he's the game guy. He owns some good domains. StartupSimulator.com. Like, I grew up on Lemonade Stand. Did anybody else? Lemonade Stand, the old like Apple computer game where you like said how many, like what your price was going to be and how many cups you wanted to make, and you just try to maximize revenue. I love that stuff. But Startup Simulator, it'd be a fun game. I'm marking it. I don't know what to do with it other than for the fun of it. You know, just because this is domain to profit doesn't mean that sometimes your profit can be for the fun of it. Just don't go paying a fortune for it. Embroidery software, that's probably a thing. I know that if you turn a logo into an embroidery file, you have to put it through embroidery software, which creates a stitch file. Yep, there we go. See, that's why you actually see the logo. That was a stitch file in order to make that for a embroidery shirt. Okay, so we have advertisers, 8 advertisers, very low price per click. Embroiderysoftware.com, good keyword volume, embroidery digitizing software. So maybe you want to put together a service that creates, turns logos into embroidery files. So we have a good volume here, 3,100, by far the highest amount that we've seen today. Some good advertisers, but low cost per click. So the question I would have is, if you call up embroidery stores or maybe embroidery software companies, can you get them to advertise or pay as a featured member to be on the site? I don't know. Not really. I don't dig it. Let's click on it. Let's see what it's going for. Hopefully I'm talking about, okay, so $12 currently, ends in 6 days. Do not bid on it yet, as you'll hear from me all the time. I would say this domain name's probably worth a few $100s at least. Based on that search traffic, the easy estimate would be that it would be $2,000 domain name. I don't buy that. If I was to put it, and basically what I'm saying is, if you take that 3,000 searches by the 0.68 cents, you can come up with a rough estimate of $2,000 value based on the traffic. You got to watch out with your softwares, though. I'm sorry, you got to watch out with your keywords. Software, I don't like the word software. I believe we looked it up a while back. It's a slight downward trend. Apps is typically a better word. I think embroidery, file, embroidery, there's other domain names alternatives. But hey, I'll tell you right now, if you have $1,000 so far, I think that one's probably the best domain name. So, okay, let me see. I'm going to share out what it is that Lee is mentioning here, which is dig into the lower quality $12 lists, and you lose days to it. So many bad days. Yeah, and that's the thing, is like you're going to. We're filtering through hundreds of thousands of domain names. Not every single one of those domains is somebody's lost dream. In many cases, somebody probably bulk registered a bunch of domains, a bunch of garbage. Let that garbage go. Let it dissipate. Let it go away forever. But you can see that compared to all the other domains, embroiderysoftware.com is a better domain name than Newton's, newtonslaw.com. Ooh, not bad. I don't know what the heck you do with it. But you'll notice, did you see the proper case? If you're reading down through this, did anybody else see that? Anybody else? I thought it was Newton's Law. It's Newton's Law. Like, that's a freaking fun domain name. Not sure what you would ever do with it. I cannot imagine that there's any keyword volume or anything. But this is why I get paid the free bucks. And yes, I said free bucks because nobody pays to be here, but that's okay. Newton's Law, 13,000 searches, no advertisers. So it's not a money keyword. But I'll tell you what, if you were a physics company or there's any number of different companies that could benefit from this as a brand. It's a fun domain name. I'm going to have to bid on it just from the fun perspective. But yeah, we'll see. Currently $12, ends in 5 days. Adding it to my watch list. I wonder if anybody else is going to notice that domain name. Newton's Law. There we go. Don't share that one out. I think that one, most people will miss that one. I almost missed it. Newton's Law. Some really good coleslaw. It's Newton's Law. Lee, I know you're in what, the UK or whatnot. Like, do you guys eat coleslaw? Is that a thing? I think it's kind of a southern United States type of thing. I could be mistaken. Here you go, Matt. I may have missed, then Gin. Yeah. gonna say I may have missed Gin Review, but I want to. Let's find one. Unbeatable car auction. I'm looking for a domain name that we can actually develop. Let's talk about a business. I don't like it when we don't get great domains, but that's good. I mean, it means that people are valuing their domains, not letting them go. The dream lives on. The dream lives on forever. Yeah. And that's the thing is you spend a lot of time, you know, the bots will very much, you'll be bidding against bots when you buy those cheap domains. But that's okay. Like, I mean, all a bot's going to do is run the algorithm. It's doing exactly what we're doing here. It's looking at the keywords. They just can do it based on data versus our eyeballs. I wonder if they're going to bid on Newton's law. Tours Ghost. Man, if that was ghosttours.com, that would freaking be awesome. Tours Ghost garbage. Ghost Tours gold. Reverse his words. You reverse the words, it doesn't keep any of the value. There you go. There's that right there is the one thing that if you learn that today, there's value. Because reversing words is a quick way to waste money. Ghost tours, that's the phrase. That's going to be 20,000 searches plus, big money. Tours ghost, it doesn't make any sense. And if you go spending money on those domains, you're going to waste a lot of money. I was just looking for that general reports. I don't know, general reports for people that. Okay, I touched a nerve with Lee, it appears. We have coleslaw, electricity, round wheels, and everything on this little island. There we go. I didn't know. I thought maybe you called it something different, man. No, it's like, okay. Oh, man. Round wheels? That's a thing? I enjoy my coleslaw. I actually used to freaking hate coleslaw, but it's one of those things as I got older, I enjoyed it. I think it's that whole thing when you're a kid. When you're a kid, you tend to avoid it because you want to eat everything else, all the junk food. But you get older and you're kind of like, coleslaw is junk food. Okay, we're on to page 4. I don't remember the last time we've got to page 4. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since we got to page 4. But that's good. We're going to get a victory here. Come on. See, I should have prepared some general things other than localmotors.com to talk about. You know me, I can't help but moneydetective.com? Sounds like an interesting domain. Let's check that out. I just love to rage against big business. Kind of my middle name. Drew, anti-big business, wash. Let's see here. Okay, well, nothing really happening here. The Money Detective. So here's what I'm thinking with this one. Could you imagine like Money Detective in the blockchain world especially, like you can track every transaction that happened in the blockchain all the way back, but it takes time. Maybe moneydetective.com could be a service that helps people find the ins and outs of money coming into and out of the blockchain or something. The Money Detective, a service that allows you to find out where the money came from. Not a bad little thing, but as you can see, no keyword volume, no money being spent, just a fun little brand, and we're moving on. I'll start, but pre-factory sounds like a real thing. You know, if we were to take the domain names and build literally what's supposed to be on that domain name, Google would be our bitch. Instead of us looking to Google for stuff, Google would be looking to us as domain developers. They would be the ones needing and begging us for stuff. It's funny how that power dynamic, like, how does that even work? How does it work that they take the information that we gather on our websites, and income intelligence? Another, it's a good brand. It goes with Money Detective. I'm just going to highlight it, move it on. Bio glasses, clean and affordable. Wireless installation. I don't really like it, but that might have some keyword volume. So let's go check it out. I don't want to trust my gut on that one. Go in, get rid of the .com. So all these domain names are expiring auctions. Every week they're new, mostly because more domains expire each week. We've been at this for 93 weeks. So we've definitely we see some of the same domain names week after week. We've seen a couple of them. So 7 advertisers, 56 cents per click. So there's some advertisers happening for this. Only 40 searches. Not really seeing. So this is probably going to be more of a how-to place. So maybe you put together a blog that shows people how to install various wireless devices, how to set up wireless smart home stuff, things like that. It'd be the long play. That would be a long play, because blogs are all about content, meaning you need to get traffic, then sell some advertisers. But it could happen. What was that? Do we have 2 of them? Wireless installation. So there you go. It might work. It might be the best one we came up with, which is just sad. Sad. Coleslaw. Okay, well, we are coming up in the final minutes. Elf in safety. Just a year ago, somebody was like, oh man, it'd be the greatest website ever. Elf in safety. What? Like, who did that? Okay. Like, elf, literally elf in safety. I got nothing. China fail. I'm going to keep going. I'm just going. Rate my profile. That sounds like something. That sounds like a thing. RateMyProfile.com. It's only been registered for a couple years, but I don't know. Don't really like it all that much. Going to keep moving on, but it's at least a reasonable domain name. I could see that being a thing. What do you see on Rate My Profile? You post your profile and people rate it. Isn't that you got like Tinder, all the dating apps and stuff. People want to show off their profile. You can put it up on rateyourprofile.com and let people treat you poorly, which is what I'm guessing would happen. How to Bitcoins. Bikini drone? What in the world? What? Always fighting. I like it. So one of the things I look for, I love exact match domain names, an exact keyword. I also like domain names when they or something is a common phrase. Like this one here, sugary drink. Sugary drink. How many times have you heard somebody say, oh, I'm going to, all you kids and all your sugary drinks? Although I think it's spelled right. I think it's a bad domain. I don't really like it. Can't imagine there's much money going on it, but who knows? Maybe VIP tile. I feel like we actually hit some reasonable domain names here. Park vehicles, time treats. Interesting brand. So if you've waited this long, maybe we'll get Broke Vegas. That's me in Vegas every time. That's why I don't really gamble. Because I'm Broke Vegas. The Egg Summit. It's entertaining just to go through and do it. Play on health and safety. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's elf and safety. I'm guessing that's what it was. But still, like, okay, elf and safety. Like, I mean, I guess that you can have a nice elf mascot, and I'll go with it. Okay, well, we're coming up on an hour. The Wi-Fi booster, if that was Wi-Fi booster, that'd be fun looking into. One more page down, and then we're going to wrap up the show. I'm looking really intense at this because I really want there to be a good one here. Okay, one more page down. One more. One more. So some of you might wonder, like, does Drew do any more searching after we're done? And the answer is yes. Like I spend, a little bit more time looking to domain names than just this little time with you. We got through more domain names this week than usual, which is great. I love that. I like to look through. I've never actually shared this, but I'll share. So over on Expired Domains, I've found success down to about $1,600. So right now we're 5-6 pages into this, and you'll see that these valuations here are about $1,850. If you're using that valuation from GoDaddy as kind of a gauge of whether a domain name's worth a darn or not, 1,600 is where I'll a lot of times go down to about $1,600. If they rank it below $1,600, they're usually pretty accurate that that's a garbage domain name. I don't think I've ever found one valued less than $1,600 that was something I would value as worth having. So maybe a good little rule of thumb to add there towards the end. So maybe stick around this long. Hopefully we can get you something worth benefiting you. So not the greatest week for domain names. We certainly found some. We found some that would, let me run down through some of the ones that we did from the beginning to the end of the show. We have careerresources.com over on GoDaddy, ending in 3 days, was currently $12. We'll see if anybody ideally wait till the last minute. 3 days until contractorsupplies.com ends. I did not like it. Contractor supply would be a much better keyword. We saw much more volume for that one. Quickloads.com, mostly just a brandable for a logistics type company. Pestcompany.com could be a good domain name. It's worth trying if you're looking for that first starter business, wanting something that maybe you can get for a few $100s. Hopefully you can get it for a few $100s. I'm going to skip on it, but it may be worth something if you want to go for that first development. Startup Simulator, I like that one from just a game perspective. It reminds me of Lemonade Stand back in the day. I think it would be a fun game to build out. Embroiderysoftware.com, probably the best domain name we found, other than possibly Newton's Law, which chances are you're going to see it the same way we did, which was Newton's Slaw, coleslaw. They have it in the UK, by the way, just in case you were wondering that. They have coleslaw and around wheels and electricity. Okay. Embroiderysoftware.com, $12, 6 days left on that one. That one had some pretty good search volume. And, of course, newtonslaw.com, which not sure what you would necessarily do with Newton's Law, but there is that. One last thing I'll do is I want to look to see what happened with last week's auctions. I'll share out my screen one more time. Actually, it doesn't look like I got anything. I did buy, here you go, I'll share this out. I got gardenfinders.com. Can you see that down here? I got that one for Crystal, my wife, who is a gardener, and gardenfinders.com. We kind of thought that was a fun one, but not so much for a business development as really, but let's see what we didn't win. We did not win beautifulnight.com. I saw that one yesterday and bid on it last minute. Then washrewards.com. I was like, if I get that for cheap, why not? But it did not get a victory on it. So there you go. Some of the domain names. Look through my portfolio and purchases and losses of the last week. Okay. And I use 1,600. Fred says he uses 1,500. I'd be curious as to, like, if you've ever found a domain name for less than that. Like, I'm kind of curious. Like, I've not found one below. So 1,600 is, but yeah, 1,500. I'm sure that's another 2 or 3 pages. Yeah. Okay. Well, there we go. We've looked at some domain names. We badmouthed Google. It sounds like a day worth living. Beat up on the big guy, and that's okay. That's okay. They need to be ridiculed. Okay. Well, I guess with that said, we will wrap things up here on Domain to Profit. I'm Drew Wash. If you have not yet, make sure you like this video. Like it just for the sake of saying, yes, we know that most weeks there's some good domain names mentioned. And like I said, Newton's Law is worth something. That right there, without the show, chances are you would have missed it. At least I would have missed it. So, oh yeah, just for trying to remember if I got anything else. So like, subscribe, and I'll see you next week. See you next week, and I'll tweet at you in between. Take care.